Hello and welcome back. This time we have a lot of new features to take a look at, from data privacy control on export to new features in decisioning and awesome fairness monitoring improvements. Let's dive right into it. Here we are inside of SAS Visual Analytics, where we have a bunch of things to look at. The first one I want to take a look at is parameters. Now, parameters have received a lot of love in the last couple of updates, and this trend continues. Now, we can not only have expressions for numeric parameters, but we can also have it for character-based parameters. And as an additional add-on for both types, we can now go in and also add ranks to our parameters, which is an amazing level up of the capabilities on how dynamic your reports can actually become. Super cool new enhancement. The next enhancement I want to touch on is to the slider controller. Now, you might say, what could you add to the slider controller? Well, if you go to the options pane of the slider control, there is a new option added all the way at the bottom called missing values option. What this does is it adds a checkbox underneath your slider, enabling you to, in that range, previously missing values were excluded. So through this checkbox, you can now also include the missing values. And you as a report builder decide if that option is available or not. Perfect. Now, to the highlight of this release. We, of course, have long had these nice visual indicators of candidate, sensitive, and private information within our reports. That's driven by the information collected by SAS Information Catalog. Now, you can also make use of these additional information pieces when it comes to sharing the access of your report. For this, let's jump to the options and configure the report settings. And then all the way at the bottom, we have the export control. Now, previously, we only had a binary toggle between enable and disabling this. Now we can also select disable if private data is present, meaning if in an object it has assigned as a role some data that is flagged as private, you can now disable certain parts or all parts of the export. So here you can see I went in and I disabled the export for images if private data is present. Now, let's take a look at this report in viewing mode. And first up, let's look at this GE50K. That wasn't flagged as private or anything by that matter. So if I go to export, I can export it in all the different types. Switching to sex, the second bar chart here, that of course was flagged as private. And if I go to export, I now can't select PDF and data. I can still select image as was configured in the report controls. Amazing new capability that can really level up how you control how data is being shared within your company. Now, let us move on to the second highlight feature, and that being inside of SAS Model Manager. Now, in Model Manager, you can of course monitor the performance of your models and see how are they behaving over time. And we also have already available on the SAS model cards the metrics around the fairness of your model. Well, now these two have been combined, and you can also track the fairness and the bias of your model with the performance report, and you get a whole new section within the performance monitoring report only dedicated to fairness and bias monitoring. And here we can see, as I slowly scroll through, all the metrics and can indicate how things are evolving over time, and of course set up alerts that trigger if a certain imbalance has been found within the monitoring aspects. So a lot of new capability to really enhance your model ops or ML ops cycle to ensure not only is the model good, but is the model still fair. Moving on, we switch over to SAS Intelligent Decisioning, where we previously touched on the ability to add workflows to your decision. Now you can see what tasks are available and claim them from within the homepage of SAS Intelligent Decisioning. Here you can see we currently have a task that we claimed. We can of course also release it from here so anybody else can grab it. And we could also move it to the next stage. But actually, let's move into that decision because we have claimed it that we want to develop it. So let's actually look at that because there's something new here as well. What we want to do is we want to add a new rule set to our decision here. So let's just go to add below, select the rule set, go to my folder where I've set up a new rule set that we want to further edit. So we go in here and now we need to assign a value to this imaginary variable. Now, as we assign this, we of course make use of the equal sign operator, and now we want to just concatenate two variables. How do we do that? Well, let's head on over to the functions. We use the filtering mechanism to see, okay, concat, there we are. There is 4 functions in here. Which one is the right one for me? Well, with the new update, you can now hover over these different functions and can see and read the description, get some syntax help and explanation of the arguments to understand what's going on with each function. And once we have identified the correct one, we can just double click it into our decision or use the add button in here and can make use of it now within our decision or our rule set and build with more confidence. I think this is a great update for us developers because with so much functionality available, it's hard to have everything in your head all the time, of course. Moving on, we will be switching over to SAS Studio. In SAS Studio, we of course have a bunch of new steps again. 6 in the statistics category, 1 each in the econometrics and machine learning category, and the step I want to highlight a bit is in the prepared data category called variable selection. Now, variable selection has kind of 2 modes that you can use, and it helps you to understand the variance of your data, either related to a certain target variable, that's then in supervised mode, or within the whole data source, which variables are driving the biggest amount of variance within your dataset. That would be the unsupervised mode. And you can configure a lot of options, both not only how it should behave, which variables should be included in this understanding, but also how you are presented with the outputs and how the outputs should actually be generated. Let's look at the output based on the example that's provided in the SAS documentation. And here we can see all the different variance aspects, and also this goes down into the actual values of the data set. And then we can see which variables are responsible for the biggest variance effect within the whole data source. Very powerful step to help you level up your game when it comes to building confident models and also understanding how things are behaving and changing over time. With that, let's switch over to all the new community articles that I would recommend you should check out. First up is the Monitoring Model Fairness in SAS Model Manager deep dive article, going way beyond what I just showed you here. Next is an introduction to state space models, a capability that I think is underutilized and should be understood by more people to really level up your game. Next up is an introduction to the SAS compute server enhancements. We've touched on this in the last episode where we looked at the new capabilities of running procs that were previously CAS only and now can also be accessed through Python, and this article deep dives the whole subject. And we're finishing things off with performance once again, and this article explains how SAS with Single Store can really elevate your report performance and also your programming performance by pushing execution right into the database. An awesome capability that you should definitely check out. With that, I hope you enjoyed these updates as much as I did, and see you next time. Bye bye.